She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's our Sunday episode, and this is a Night Terrors. Hope you're feeling ready for the Night Terrors. I kind of lost track of the time. I was just stretching, and I like hurt my arm. It's like, oh God, I'm getting old, man. It's tough stuff. I don't know, this whole aging thing. I think if I'd known this in advance, I might have chose. Here we go, Mom. I get my nightly text message from Mom. Here we go, Mom. Hope you're ready. I'm planning to entertain you all the way across the country. But hope you guys are doing wonderful. Happy Sunday. I know tomorrow's Monday, but it's all about intentions. So put it in your mind that tomorrow's just going to be an amazing day, and maybe it will be. If we create a reality, maybe it will be. But we're going to go over paranormal phenomena tonight, and this is kind of it can be any of the different topics, but it's kind of different because it encompasses one detail about them. So in other words, if it was like Bigfoot, it could be that people report, hey, they disappear, they cloak, so it could be cloaking, it could be the phenomena that we cover, and that's not tonight, just for the record. But tonight I thought it'd be kind of cool to get into some ghostly phone calls, and these to me, I have to tell you that when I first started doing the show, I've said this many times, but I thought I knew all about the paranormal. I thought I was just like, oh, I know that stuff. But as I've done the show, I've learned so many things. I've learned about so many phenomena and things that allegedly happen that I'm like, oh my God, really? That happens too? And ghostly phone calls was one of those. Now, you'd hear the odd tale here and there in legend and lore of ghostly messages coming through different devices and stuff. But the ghostly phone calls are really exciting to me. They're really spooky to me. They're really they're both kind of like make me uncomfortable and yet really excited, because it is an avenue that is possibly exploited by those that we know and love that have passed on. That it doesn't seem like it's a big stretch for spirits to alter or manipulate energetic things, like radios, like lights, like electronics, that they seem to have not, it doesn't seem like they have any problem in manipulating those to make them, either screw up or work, or, things that aren't working suddenly work, things that do work suddenly don't, changing lights, turning on and off appliances, etc., etc. Those kind of things don't seem like a big stretch, and it might be due to the fact that spirits, as we understand them, are probably an energetic manifestation of life. And as are we underneath this skin and meat suit, we are those same energetic expressions of life, but no longer encumbered by the body. And, perhaps that's a part of it. But I find that the stories that have come out are oftentimes heartwarming, sometimes disturbing, sometimes really disturbing. Like, you hear the odd story here and there, and they're very rare. But there are those people that have gotten loving phone calls, like, a call from someone that, on the birthday, and then it's like, oh my God, that was my dad, and he passed. Or to somebody's in a really in a space where there's lots of screaming and yelling and wailing and agony, and it sounds like, oh my God, what a horrible thing. So you get the whole gambit on these. Now, I think all of these that we're going to cover tonight are pretty much they're just weird or just kind of feel good. So somewhere in there. But I haven't really found many of the horrible ones, and that's good, I guess. I don't know what to think about something like hell or a purgatory or some such place. I really have a hard time believing that for my own reasons, and this is just me inserting myself into the discussion because I got a microphone and that's what you get. But there are those that really do believe there's a place for those people that were not kind, that were not nice, and did not do good things in their lives, did horrendous things and treated people terribly. And maybe that is true. And maybe it's self-imposed. Maybe it's divinely imposed. Who knows? I can't pretend to know for sure. But we're going to get into that tonight, and I hope it's a good discussion. We are going to have trail cam terrors, and we're going to have a comment from the cheap seats tonight. So we're rolling deep tonight, folks. Lots to cover. So the phones are working again, which is wonderful. But the number for the show, if you want to call in and be a part of it, is 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500, or look there. It's right there. See that little number? That's the one. If you want to call it. That's how you do it. So anyway, we've got a lot to get to here. Let me see. There was a little bit of narrative on this one. Yeah, tonight's trail cam picture is interesting, and there's a, I don't know. We're gonna see what you guys think, but I think it might really be something, and I can't be sure, but I think it really might be. So we'll get into that in just a second. But as such, I think that's the laundry on the front end. I don't know about you guys, but I hope you're all ready because it's time for bed. And push, just wait. I got another button to push. Shoot. Hang on there, folks. There's more. But wait, there's more. Rick, you just woke up. Well, you're just in time. But you can still lay there and stay comfy until we get done then, right? Because if you're in bed, you're in bed. You don't have to be sleeping. I said nothing about sleeping. I just said it's time for bed. so you can just lay there and stay comfy. And I hope you all are comfy as you're sitting back listening to my soothing tones, if that's indeed what I've got. I don't know. But anyway, let's get at it. Let's see, where are we starting? Where are we starting? There's other things that we could talk about too. It depends on how long it takes to get through some of the material. These articles that I found are really short, and several of them are from a long time ago. I found an old, I'm surprised this site is still up because all of their links are broken and everything is pretty much dead, but it's a neat site. I hope they're still working on it because it looks like it could be a fun resource to check out for more stuff. Lots of articles are still existing here, but all of their outside links that they tack to seem to be kind of dead. But anyway, the site that I'm going to bring your attention to tonight, and by all means, ladies and gentlemen, as I cover sites and articles on this show, I hope you guys will go and check them out. I hope you will give them some traffic and look into what they're doing, because these people are working hard. They're doing a great job, and they're providing lots of information and entertainment. And I think it's only best to reward those efforts, because everybody that's doing this stuff and the paranormal is doing it, on their own blood, sweat, and tears. They're nobody's getting rich doing this stuff for the most part. Even some of the big names that you may know. I mean, everybody's just living the life that they've chosen and getting by, but they love doing it. So always check out these sites. But the site that we're visiting first of all tonight is ghostsandghouls.com. And the article in question is from 2013, so it's going on 10 years old. And it doesn't surprise me that the links may not work. God, I really screwed up my shoulder. I don't know what I did. But anyway, it's phone calls from the dead is the story. Now, I think the first one here is one that we've covered several times before, just in breezing through this a little bit before the show. So redundancies aside, again, with the paranormal, you find a lot of the same material on dozens of different sites all over the place, especially when it's very topic related like this. And I think, for whatever reason, but I think they're still entertaining. So if you've heard this one before, bear with me. I have heard this one before. But this is dealing with a train crash victim's cell phone calls loved ones. On September 12th, 2008, 2 trains collided in the Chatsworth district of Los Angeles, killing 25 people and injuring countless others. One of the victims was a man named Charles E. Peck, who was traveling to L.A. to interview for a job. Where am I hearing? Oh, Ghostbusters? Was that the guy? The district attorney? Was that the original Ghostbusters? Wasn't his name Peck? So anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to disparage the guy. He's obviously lost his life. But during the first 11 hours after the crash, Peck's fiancée and several of his family members received numerous calls from his cell phone. All in all, Charles' loved ones, which included his son, brother, stepmother, and sister, received a total of 35 calls. Each time family members answered a call, however, they heard only static, and calls to Peck's home went straight to voicemail. Naturally, the family hoped Charles was alive in the wreckage and reaching out for help. 12 hours after the accident, rescuers traced the signal from Peck's phone and discovered his body in the lead passenger car, where most of the serious injuries and deaths had occurred. Authorities reported that Peck's body showed no signs that he lived even for a short time after the crash, and that he couldn't have possibly made the calls. Adding to the mystery, rescuers never found his phone. That's weird, because didn't they just say they used it to figure out where his body was? They said the rescuers traced the signal from his phone and discovered his body, but they didn't actually find the phone. That's a detail I missed earlier. Other times that I've read that story, but very interesting. So the guy obviously couldn't have made the calls, but did somebody find his phone and make those calls? So that's a possibility. That somebody went, hey, I'm going to try to get some help because his phone was laying here next to the wreckage. It might be. I don't know. But if indeed it is as it is that his phone was somehow destroyed and yet these phone calls were made, that's pretty phenomenal. All right, so this one is texts from the grave. Texts. That's hard for me to form with my palate for some reason. Texts from the grave. In 2003, Lancashire resident Frank Jones lost his wife, Sadie, to a heart attack. I'm sorry. Sadie loved her cell phone, so Frank buried his wife with their cherished device. Soon after Sadie's death, however, Jones and his family began to receive strange calls, and SMS messages, which they believed came from her phone. Just after Sadie died, I came home and I felt like I didn't want to go in the house, Jones told the Blackpool Gazette. I got a missed call on my mobile, but it didn't ring. The call was from my own home number, but there was nobody in the house. Then, when I went inside, there was the smell like cigarettes, which Sadie used to smoke, and the smell of her perfume. Very powerful. Family members also received messages written in Sadie's style, but there was no phone number attached. The mysterious phone activity wasn't the Jones' first brush with the paranormal. In 1996, Frank had his home exorcised after a malicious entity he called The Thing terrorized his family by pulling on bed covers and banging on the walls. Many times we talk about, I've talked with you guys about ways I think spirits make themselves known. And certainly one of the most, one of the least, I guess, offensive and gentle ways is just by senses of smell. Because you catch a smell, and one smell can bring you into a whole different time of your life, into a whole different place, and take you back to a childhood memory, or, you know, a favorite location that you would go with people you loved or whatever. And it's very powerful. And I really believe in that. I think that that's probably what they most likely do most often, because, you know, our loved ones don't want to like freak us out and make us terrified. I think that's they really don't think they are, and sometimes end up scaring people. But one of the least surprising ways, I think, is just by a smell, and they can somehow simulate that energetically, and maybe it's even telepathic. Who knows? But I know for me, my second cousin Marilyn was like another mom to me. She was really an amazing woman, and a big part of my formative years and life, and her and her family were really important to me. And some of my best memories growing up had to do with, you know, spending time with them. And when they would come into town, and when we would go out to their place in Michigan, it was just these moments of my life that just seemed so fun and light and easy. And after she passed, I really, you know, it kind of dawns on you that was it. It's past now from this world. That place, that moment, those opportunities left with them. And it kind of made me sad, and well, I mean, obviously for a number of reasons, but I always feel like she's around, because every once in a while, just out of the blue, I will get the smell of the house they used to live in, and it'll just fill my senses, and all of a sudden, it's like just being embraced. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And it brings me back to those places and in those times when it was so carefree and fun and light, and everybody was smiling and having good times. You know, it's just, those were such treasured memories. And so it's kind of neat that when those smells appear, maybe it's her reaching out and saying, I'm still here. I'm still with you. And, so I'm sure everybody has those experiences where you just catch a smell. It's like, I know that smell. I love that smell, and, you know, brings back great memories. So, and if not, I hope you get those if you haven't had them already, but very cool. Yeah, I think smells are really important. This one is: line registered to dead man repeatedly dials 911. Earlier this year, talk show host Katie Couric reported that a landline registered to her dead husband had started dialing 911 every Tuesday at 2 a.m. Police responded to Couric's residence at least 10 times, and a frightened Katie contacted New York PD Chief Ray Kelly for help. Police investigated the incident and named bad wiring as a cause, though some find the explanation unconvincing. Katie's late husband, Jay Monahan, died of colon cancer in 1998. So that's the whole of that article. And I don't know. I wonder if there was there a reason that the 911 was called? Was there some danger, or was it just more of a nuisance thing? I don't know. Very curious. But that's our first article tonight, dealing with ghostly phone calls. And there was a part 2 that they posted on that site too, like a whole nother little batch. And again, the articles are real brief and quick to read and lots of fun. So there's a lot more on this site too. Lots of things, including haunted places maps as well, which is kind of cool. I'm going to spend some time looking through that, because we're looking for some investigation locations for the show. So I'm going to look through their maps and see what they got highlighted, and maybe we can work something out. So anyway, this is, again, from ghostsandghouls.com, and this is more phone calls from the dead. Ooh. But wait, there's more. All right, so this is from April 27th of 2014, and it's by Ghost School, and I'm not sure who that is, but I imagine it's the proprietor of the website. So well done, Ghost School, whoever you are. You did a great job. I hope you're going to continue on this site, because I'm really excited to find it, and I would love for you to keep doing this. Can the dead really call the living? I think they can. I think they do. I shared 3 strange calls from phone calls from the dead. Here are 3 more eerie tales. What do you think of the stories? So the first one is a call from an old friend. The following account comes from a recent article in the Sydney Morning Herald about author Charles Waterstreet writes, "How long do you leave a dead friend on your contacts list of your phone? Well, I left the late Adam Cullen and got 2 messages in the past few months under his name in the middle of the night. The first one was when I was in New York on January 2nd, just as I tried to fall asleep. He noted he was watching Rake on Foxtel and added, "Makes me wonder why the F am I at liberty to do so? Love you, buddy. Be good." I couldn't sleep much after that. Wow. On February 9th, I received a dirty joke from him, and it sounded like something he would say. But I doubt Adam would have access to a phone. He was cremated in 2011. Wow. That's crazy. How much later? We don't know. I don't know if this is the same year this was written or what, April 2014, but he was, I suppose. But he was cremated in 2011. Water Street checked the phone number and learned it was still in his deceased friend's name. The friend's father has no idea where the phone is, so who or what was behind the calls? It remains a mystery, Water Street says. Very wild. Very cool. Wouldn't that be neat? If we could still get text messages from those we love that have passed and just be like, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. How you doing?" I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's rules. I often wonder that, because if they can do this, why don't they? Why don't they? Are there rules? Are there reasons that they're not allowed to, or that it's not easy for them to do it? And I know that some people like to talk about, well, it takes energy, an energy manifestation, and maybe they just don't have much energy, but I don't know. I don't know if that could be true or not, because I don't think the universal energy that is the divine is ever running out. That, spirits would still be connected to that by virtue of existing. So, I don't know. It just makes me wonder, why don't they? If they can, why don't they? Maybe they can't, or maybe they aren't supposed to, or whatever. It's very interesting. Here's one that has to do with Dean Koontz receives a warning. In an online article for Psychology Today, September 27th, 2013, Catherine Ramsland, PhD, relates a tale Dean Koontz shared during an interview. And she writes, "He was at work that day in his office when the phone rang. He picked it up and heard a female voice that sounded far away. She spoke with a sense of great urgency. 'Please, be careful,' she said. A bit startled, Dean asked, Who is this?' When the line fell silent, Dean sat there listening for a while, uncertain what to make of it. The voice had sounded eerily like his mother's, but she'd been dead for nearly 2 decades. 2 days later, Koontz's father attempted to stab him with a knife. The police initially thought Dean was the aggressor and came perilously close to shooting him. The harrowing experience inspired Koontz to write a similar scene in his 1993 novel Mr. Murder, and the mysterious phone call helped inspire 2010's What the Night Knows. The best-selling author still doesn't know what to make of the call, imploring him to be careful. I don't claim it was a ghost. I don't know what I believe, Dean told Ramsland, and I think you always have to keep some skepticism about things like this, but it's comforting to think that there may be a realm where the personality survives. Yeah, I definitely believe there is. That's really powerful stuff. This one is a strange call. It says, the following story comes from CNN's Do Loved Ones Bid Farewell from Beyond the Grave, September 23rd, 2011. It starts with a woman named Sima Lieberman, who received a strange call from her boyfriend in the late 1960s, reporter John Blake writes. While Lieberman was at her mother's home in the Bronx, the phone rang and she answered. Johnny was on the line, sounding rushed and far away. Static crackled. I just want you to know that I love you, and I'll never be mean to anybody again, he said. There was more static, and then the line went dead. Lieberman was left with just a dial tone. Well, Lieberman tried calling Johnny back but couldn't get through. The next morning, Sima learned that someone had shot and killed Johnny as he sat in his car. Sima believes Johnny reached out after his death to say goodbye. The whole thing was so bizarre, she said. I never could understand it. That's really wild. It says there's another piece here. According to a story I found on Reddit, an operator from a nonprofit in Chile dialed a number and spoke to a man who identified himself as Mr. Gonzalo. The conversation was unremarkable and ended when Mr. Gonzalo said he'd have to check with his wife about making a donation. The operator called back a few days later and Mrs. Gonzalo answered. When the wife learned that the operator had spoke to Mr. Gonzalo, she was shocked. Why? Mr. Gonzalo had died in a traffic accident 14 months earlier. The audio for both calls is here, though they are in Spanish. What do you make of the tale? Wow, that's incredible. That is really incredible. There again, is it possible? I think it is. I think everything is possible, and that's another side effect to doing the show. And I've always had an open mind for accepting the possibility of things. I think, but I didn't realize from a naive state before I did the show how big that spectrum would become. And I think that's what hosting the Paranormal Portal has been for me. Has been like, how big is this stuff? How big are we? How big is our world? And it turns out it's huge. It spans the universe. I mean, we think of our world as this one location of a planet, but our world is all of it. I think, because by virtue of anything existing, it has to have its source within that universal energy, as do we. And so that's when it gets really bizarre. It's like, wow, how big are we? We're pretty big. We are really pretty big. And I think that's beautiful. I truly do. Well, Warchild's here. Good. Hey, we were wondering what happened to you. About to send out a search party. All right. So here is the next one from that same site. And this is from a reader of the site had submitted this one. And it was really a great read. And I thought we'd share it here. And this was shared in 2015. Reader submission, Call from a Ghost. My son Jason passed away last July. He was 29 years old, and his death was unexpected. He had recently discharged from the Army and had been residing with me for the last 15 months. I found him in his room when I opened the door. I had so many unanswered questions, and I'm really sorry for this person. What they must have been confronted with there is just, it's got to be a nightmare. But anyway, that's, me assuming that he ended his situation. And God bless her, him, whoever wrote this. But, well, today, June 14th, 2015, I was sleeping in the living room because my 5-year-old grandson was spending the night. We didn't go to bed until 5 a.m., and I awoke to my cell phone ringing. Well, the phone wasn't near me. It was over on the kitchen table, so I didn't make it to the phone in time to answer. When I picked it up, I expected to see my other son's name, thinking he was checking to see if my grandson was up yet. However, when I looked at the phone, it said I'd missed a call from Jason. The call was from his number, and the phone said that there was a voicemail. So, with shaking hands, I called back, but there was nothing. Just dead silence. I said hello, and there was no response. Well, the line stayed open until I finally hung up. My son's cell phone has been disconnected for 11 months now and sits in my drawer. Even if someone else was given his number, they certainly wouldn't have his contact list to get my number. I'm a big-time skeptic, never believing in ghost stories, but I have no explanation whatsoever. I told my other grown children, and my daughter even came over to see the number for herself on my missed call list. This happened at exactly 7:02 a.m. I don't know how or why, but I would love to believe it was my son calling me from heaven. He's still on my contact list, and the ringer I had assigned to him was not the ring I heard this morning. Very, very interesting. And I hope it was him calling from heaven. That's a beautiful thought. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, the thing is I think the biggest pain of death is just the unknowns. It's not knowing, are they okay? Is everything okay? These are people we've loved and we've held close to our hearts throughout our lives, and then they're suddenly gone, and they're gone away from our care. They're gone away from our ability to help them on their journey, and that's kind of frightening. It's maybe frightening for us because we can't help anymore. But I think we can. I think you just change the way you help. Then you just pray for those people. You send them energy. You send them love and light and your prayers and your hopes, and continue to talk to them, because I think they're always around us. I don't think they just go away just because their body does. I think they're always attached to us. That's the virtue of love. And wasn't this the one? No, this is a different one. Okay, so there's one more, and this is another one of their readers had submitted this one. And this is, again, ghostandghouls.com. So it says, reader submission, one last goodbye. My husband passed away in June 2013. We had separated 6 months previously. On the day I was informed of his death, I was in my garden with a workman. I was shocked and extremely upset, and was concerned about my children receiving the news. The workman was asked to stay with me while someone went to collect my daughter from work. As I was crying, my phone started to ring. It was in my back pocket, and I was too upset to answer. But it wouldn't stop ringing. I then thought it might be the police, as they had found my husband's body. However, my phone showed my husband as the caller, which upset me even more. Crying, I showed the workman my phone, explaining it was coming from my husband's phone. We were totally baffled. I eventually answered, as I thought it might be the police calling, and I only heard static. I later went to my husband's flat. He'd been found there, and I was told he had passed away 2 days previously. His phone was on the floor and showed that no call had been made from it for more than 3 days. But the log on my phone showed that my husband's phone had called me at 11:15 on the morning of his death, just a few minutes after I received that news. I believe he was calling to say goodbye. Wow. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get those calls, though? I mean, obviously they allegedly happen, folks. But who knows what that trigger is? What makes some people receive them and what not? I don't know. That's kind of the big mystery of it all. It's like, why do some people receive things like this, the phone calls? Why do some people, like in my case, I seem to meet my loved ones in dreams. That seems to be how I receive it. And maybe we all receive those goodbyes, those moments, but just on different levels. And maybe it depends on the person. I don't know. I just wish everybody could have that kind of closure, because I think it's so incredibly cathartic and powerful to know that they're okay. They made it. They survived. They're still continuing on, and they're waiting for us. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's the unknowns that are tough. Those are the ones we wrestle with horribly. How are we doing? Okay, we still got a little bit of time here. So that's about all of the ghostly phone calls that I had for tonight. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you think these things happen? Do you think that it's just some creative writing on posts and bulletin boards on the internet, or what do you think? But I really do believe that it's possible and that it does happen. I don't know that every one of those stories happened, but I have to believe that people are experiencing something, because they're writing about it. They're telling people about it. And I've not experienced that one myself. There was one other one that I'd heard, which was kind of disturbing, but it was on Celebrity Ghost Stories. And it was a black guy. He's an actor, and I can't remember who or what show he was on, but he was on some really popular show. I remember that because at the time I watched it, I knew who he was, and I had seen him on shows and enjoyed the shows he was on. But, excuse me. But he had an experience like that where he had this childhood friend they'd grown up together. And this guy was always in trouble, always doing dirt, always doing pulling games and running angles and really lived life on the other side of the line. And the actor guy did well. He pulled himself together. He kind of sounds like he ran a little bit on both sides of the line there, but then his life kind of took form. But this friend, who he still kept in touch with from time to time, was just always in trouble, always having more and more trouble, in and out of jail, that kind of thing, and just really struggled through his whole life. Well, apparently he either overdosed or got shot. I don't remember which, but that was the end of that guy's journey. And, it was hard for the actor guy. He was talking about it was, too bad and would, it's not the ending he would hope for his friend. But then he started receiving phone calls from the guy. And I guess it happened over a period of days. He would get these phone calls, and apparently they were really disturbing calls, because it was like he would answer the phone and the guy'd be like, hey, you got to help me, man. You got to help me. They're coming for me. I keep running away. I keep trying to hide, but they keep finding me, man. You got to come get me. And like you could hear the static and like some really loud ruckus and wailing and screaming coming from the background, getting louder and louder. And then the phone would abruptly cut off. And then the next night, this guy called and he's like, come on, man, you got to help me. You got to do, you know what to do. You got to do it. You got to help me. You got to help me. And the guy's like, how do I help you? I don't know what to do. He goes, yes, you do. You know how to help me. And boom, cut off again. And then the last call he got, and I think it was 3 calls. The third one, the guy's frantically like, please, please. And then, you could tell that something finally caught up with this guy. And he was like, screaming and just in horror and saying, help me, do it. You got to save me. You know how. And the guy's like, I don't know what to do. And he could hear the guy screaming as if he's like being dragged off into the distance. And then this roaring and this static and this hissing. And then suddenly the line cut off. And he's like, I still don't know what he wanted me to do. And it occurred to me as I watched that. I was like, I think you just needed to pray. You needed to pray for this guy. Pray for the redemption of his soul. Pray for the redemption of his life and redeeming himself in the eyes of the divine, so that he could continue forward. But it was just horrendous to hear that story, because he said it was like getting icy cold chills through his whole body hearing this, and feeling absolutely powerless. And so it kind of reminds me of the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, where that everyone that did dirt, when they died, those shadows would come to life and grab on and drag these people into a black pit and then disappear. And it's like, oh God, that's a that's a movie that'll send someone back to church. Because that's really, it is really creepy. It is a creepy story, Viva. It's on Celebrity Ghost Stories, and I don't remember the actor, but if you can find those old episodes, you can check it out. It's pretty horrendous. And, they kind of do reenactments a little bit about that. But, yeah, but I think it was just as simple as praying for his soul to be at peace, praying for forgiveness for his actions, and because he could no longer pray for himself. And that seems to be something, too. I wonder if it's because we hear that a lot in ghost stories, people's experiences. They see these apparitions praying, hear them praying. But is there something about being in the body versus being out of the body for the prayers? And I don't know. Why couldn't a spirit pray for itself? And I don't know, maybe it's too late then. I don't know. That's really kind of a wild thought, though. But in any case, I don't know. That's the only thing that came to me, because what else is there? Obviously, you're not going to run around and find this guy's soul and rip it from the grips of some kind of wraith. But that's horrendous stuff. But let's see where we're at. Okay. Well, this might be a good time then, because it's about 47 minutes into the show, but I was a little bit late, wasn't I? I was about 5 minutes behind, so I got to see if I can find one more. You know what I can do is we had kind of started this the other night, and this is paranormal phenomenon. And so we were going through a list of stories of people on the highway. People have seen on the highways. And that's definitely paranormal phenomena as well. So let's get into these. And this is coming from moneymade.com, and it's Truckers' Creepiest Moments on the Road. And this might actually be the last one. Nope, it's not. Okay, so this one is number 30 on the list of the ones we were going through, and this is Bright Lights, Big Mystery. I got to test drive some rigs and trucks for my job. I was driving south along the Sea of Cortez with my buddy at night. It was this 4-hour dirt road to Gonzaga. Wow, my palate is just stiff tonight. Gonzaga, which is pretty much in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And we see the lights of a car behind us coming down fast and now effectively tailing us. The jerk had bar mount headlights on top, too, which are super bright. It's normal for locals to party in the nearest spring breaker town and then go down this particular road super fast to test their rigs, since there's no authorities there. So I try waving him off and to get the guy to keep his lights low since he's blinding us, but he isn't slowing down a bit or turning off his roof lights. Again, this was dangerous, super dark road. Finally, I found a spot to bail off the road without crashing, and we see the lights passing by us super fast and going straight toward a curve. We were like, well, that's it. He's going to crash down to the sea. But that's not what happened at all. Sure enough, the vehicle goes off the road, but the lights didn't fall. They kept going straight onto the beach and the sea, and then pitched up abruptly to the night sky and disappeared. We didn't say a word for a minute. And then my buddy goes, Did you see it? I say, the freaking flying truck? Well, we didn't talk about it anymore, as it simply didn't make sense to talk about it. But I still don't understand. Yeah, that's a tough one. How do you understand that? Was it a truck at all? Could have been a little UFO. All right, this is the Whispermen. I'm a FedEx contractor, and it was one of those big box trucks. I finished a long delivery day, and I swear to whatever gods you believe in, that I was hearing voices in my cab. It wasn't the radio. It wasn't my tinnitus. It was my subconscious. I was hearing whispering voices in my right ear, that were coming from the passenger seat. The voices continued after I had gotten back to my hub, clocked out, and hopped into my own car to go home. They only stopped when I left the parking lot. It only happened that night. And I still have no idea what the heck it was because I had ruled everything else out. I've been really tired driving. I used to drive back and forth from Minnesota to Michigan over by Flint area. And, it may not be a big thing, but, I do it alone and drive through the night because of the traffic and stuff around Chicago and all that. So, but by the time I get about 2 hours or an hour away from where I was going, I would start to notice that I was getting so tired a couple of times that I actually started dreaming while my eyes were open. And I became aware of when that shift started. It would be like all of a sudden you're hearing weird conversations. And it's like what you hear when you go to sleep. Like, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but when I'm falling asleep, it will be like I'm catching part of it's like walking in the middle of an episode of a TV show. You can see what's going on, but you have no context, no idea why it's going on or what's going on. And that's like what it's like for me to fall asleep. It's like I'm walking into an episode of something that already started, and I have no idea what the hell's going on. And so it's really bizarre, but I started to notice that. It's like I'm hearing the voices, but I know they're me being so tired that I'm actually starting to fall asleep. So then, of course, the next measure that you do is you pull over and you power nap for 20 minutes, half hour, whatever, just to, kind of give yourself a break and give yourself a chance to, get back into your body, so to speak. But I don't know if that's what this guy's talking about or if he's talking about like hearing conversations that are very vivid and real. I don't know. That's weird. I'd have to ask MCAT that sometime. All right, this is the Unwelcome Guest. I was driving a flatbed and picked up a load of construction material. I strapped everything down, put a tarp over the load, and left. About 5 miles down the road, in the middle of nowhere, I noticed my tarp flapping in the wind. I found a wide shoulder and pulled over to fix it, and then I realized that I did a bad job tarping this load the first time and decided to redo it on the side of the road. I undo all the bungee straps, drag the tarps off and roll them back up, climb up on the load and start unrolling the tarps again. And that's when I see a guy walking down the same side of the road that I'm on, coming towards my truck. Well, I didn't think anything about it other than to keep an eye on him because I'm in the middle of nowhere. And I just continue what I'm doing. About the time that I have the tarp set in place and I'm climbing down to start hooking up the bungee straps, this dude is getting close enough that I'm now paying more attention to him than I am to tarping my load. I grab my winch bar and set it on the trailer where I'm working just in case. The guy gets to me, and the first thing I notice is his hair. It's like a mullet, but it's patchy. Like he tried to cut his own hair and had a seizure in the process. The next thing I noticed were his eyes, which I can only describe as off. Like they were clear and he seemed sober, but they also just gave me the distinct impression that the elevator didn't go all the way up to the top. The clothes were dirty and not well maintained, with dirty white tennis shoes. I remembered he didn't have laces on one shoe and the tongue was noticeably out of place. He stops by me, waits until I acknowledge him, and his words made me shake. He just says, "I've got a long walk." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, you do. We're in the middle of nowhere," making it clear there's no ride to be had here. He nods and starts walking by me, continuing on his way. Then he stops at about the driver door on my truck and turns around, comes back to me and repeats himself. "I've got a long walk." At this point, I explained explicitly that I can't give him a ride, insurance and all of that. I apologize for not being able to help him out. And he seems to accept this, turns around and leaves. I wait for him to get a little ways away from my truck and start working on finishing the tarp job. I still keep an eye on him and he's moving away from me. And as I'm putting on the last of the bungee straps, I look over to check where he's at. He's turned around, heading back towards me. He's now about 100 yards in front of my truck and coming back my way. It looks like he's talking on a cell phone. He has his hands up to his face and I can barely make out his mouth moving. Meanwhile, his other hand is waving like he's having a conversation with someone. I finish the straps, grab my winch bar, and I'm climbing into my truck, and he's about 10 yards away now. Soon as I'm in the cab, I lock the doors, set the winch bar on the passenger seat, just in case. I look at the guy and realize he's not talking on a phone. He's just talking to his hand. Now I'm really nervous because he doesn't look like he's having a nice, pleasant chat. It looks more like an angry conversation. I crank the truck up and punch it in gear and just pull out. Didn't look for traffic or anything. And as I pass him, he's just looking at me, still holding his hand to his face, just staring at me. It gave me the creeps. It says, about the time I hit 5th or 6th gear, I look in the mirror, and there's no one there. Oh, man. That's all kinds of wrong. There's so much wrong. That's like a whole book of wrong. Oh, that'll get your blood pumping. Wow. Okay, I'll save whatever's left here for the next journey we go through in the portal, probably on Wednesday. But man, yeesh, there you have it. That's a whole bucket of weirdness. So now then, there were other things we had to discuss tonight. What were they? Well, they were some other things that I want to bring to your attention. The first up is comments from the cheap seats. This is a segment of the show that I kind of put together because every once in a while we get these, they don't happen much. We do really well on the show that people are generally wonderful and respectful, and we don't have a lot of issues with people acting out of turn and such. But every once in a while we still get them. And as such, you know, I know a lot of people who do shows just generally ignore them because, and maybe that's the right thing to do. But I just figure, you know, if somebody's going to go out of their way to be a jerk, then I'm going to do what I can to make them famous for it. So this one takes place not from too long ago. It was an episode where somebody was complaining about the chat and taking great offense at it. And, you know, I understand people have different expectations of the shows and what should happen on them and what they want to happen and what does happen. And, you know, it's just our chat room is its own experience. And it's just another aspect of the show. And good, bad, or otherwise, people don't need to participate in chat. They can just sit back and communicate or just watch the shows, or they can sit quietly. They can call in if they got something specific they want to address and bring to the show. But some people come in with whole ideas of the way things should be. And the discussion that was happening in the comments was somebody had taken great offense during one of the shows and ended up getting timed out and coming back with several accounts and doing the same thing, berating the chat and you know, whatever. So it happened. It was unfortunate, but it happens. So the person responded like, wow, there's so many dislikes on this one. I said, yeah, I think it's a person who's, you know, who was in here earlier, had problems and kept logging into different accounts after his accounts got timed out to continue complaining, and left it at that. And then I got this this comment, which was from a gentleman or person, I guess, I don't know, man or woman, but it's the username Zed's Dead, which was 16 hours ago, probably 17 hours ago now. And the person says, Paranormal Portal, actually, that isn't accurate. There was definitely more than one person that didn't like the way your whole chat seems to be. Simply playtime chat for children. And I see that you've covered up what was said by deleting the nasty comments made by your mods. Typical dirtball tactics, pretending to be a nice guy and allowing your immature gatekeepers to run amok and then cover up your actions. So obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I take a little a little umbrage with this presentation of from Zed's Dead, first of all. I did respond to him, but rather than post my comment as well, I'll just read it to you, what I said to Zed's Dead. I said at Zed's Dead, first of all, I deleted absolutely 0 comments. I did no such thing. Pretty gifted investigation there, Sherlock. You might want to start with actually having a clue. This chat has not been altered in any way whatsoever, so if you're not seeing something you expected to, it might be because you were not accurate in your initial assessment. 0 comments have been removed from the chat by me, and I'm the only one person that has that level of access, so perhaps you're the one who's in error. But I'll refrain from saying things like typical dirtball move to come into the comments making inaccurate statements, pretending to be righteously offended, and allow your immature opinions to run amok and then cover up your insecurities. Even though it looks like I actually said that, it's actually just an example of something I could say, but I choose not to. Feel free to find another show. I'd rather you didn't come to this one anymore. So there you have it. I don't know. Maybe it's not the most mature response, but I think bad behavior should be addressed. You know, if people have a complaint with the show, I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to discuss it. But when they start out with things like dirtball tactics and you know, me playing shenanigans and you know, just being a pain in my butt, then I'm going to respond. I am a nice guy. I'm an incredibly nice guy. But don't confuse my niceness with weakness. If you attack me, if you attack my show, I'm going to defend it. And I will speak my mind, and we'll see where that gets us. But I'll tell you what, I always feel a little bit better after every time I respond. So take it or leave it. But that's what I got. So anyway, slow clapping. There should be a fast clap. There should be a fast clap, Viva. It's just, of course, I take a lot of pride in the show. We've worked for years building the show from nothing with not a lot of help. It's just been us, all of you guys, and me and Don together building what you see here, and continues to grow. And so it does offend me when somebody attacks the show. And so that's the response. But these are the comments from the cheap seats, and that's what we do here. So I hope you enjoy it all the same. Let me see. Where is it? There it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and that brings us to the trail cam terrors. Tonight's image is kind of cool. I got to tell you, I think it's easy for a lot of people to write it off as it's a hoax. And maybe it is. I'm not saying it isn't or couldn't be, but I'm saying it might not be. And we'll get into that in just a second. But the image comes from somewhere. Another one that I didn't find much information on. But this is the image. It was captured on a trail cam. A spy point trail cam on August 1st, 2018. So not a long time ago, but it looks like a hairy leg, a very, very hairy leg, and a bare foot running by this trail cam. Now, here's the thing. Could it be a hoax? Sure. But why would someone go to all the trouble of creating this furry, hairy leg, sprinting by a trail cam to create a severely blurry image that would be left as the only proof of something having been there? I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me, because obviously they went to some huge trouble to make that a convincingly hairy leg with quite, the hair on these legs is about, several inches long anyway. And it seems pretty much on par with what you hear described as a Bigfoot foot. Now, I don't know what scale we're looking at here. I don't know how big the figure would be. As judging by the leaves and stuff, it looks like it's a very small one, possibly a juvenile, possibly something else. But if someone's going to go for a hoax, you think they would put a little more time into making sure they left a really powerful, pristine image, with all of the work going on, creating a hairy leg that seamlessly rolls down to a bare foot. Now, also on the bottom of the foot, what I find interesting is that the ways the toes are splayed, people's feet tend to have the toes really pressed together. And that's from a lifetime of wearing shoes and things that, our toes just kind of get molded to being in shoes. And if you'll look at some cultures that have like the foot binding and stuff, that can take on severe parameters. So everybody's feet are kind of trained to sit in a shoe. And these toes don't display that smashed together characteristic that, you're used to seeing. Also, I don't see a pronounced ball in this foot. Now, we often hear about the term mid-tarsal hinge or break. And what that means is basically our feet hinge on the ball of our foot. And then we have this arch back to the heel. This doesn't seem to have that same construct. It doesn't seem to. So that would mean the hinge or the break is back here on the mid-tarsal area. And so would that match what we're looking at here? And it might. This might be a pretty fair representation of what the underside of a mid-tarsal hinged foot would look like. And so I think that, case in point, nobody can know for sure except for the person that took this, whether or not it's a hoax. But if it's a hoax, they did a hell of a job, and they did not do a hell of a job getting that exposure. And if they put this much effort into it, why would they leave it at that? So these are my thoughts on it. You can think what you like. I don't know. I obviously don't know, but those are my arguments to the fact that maybe it is something legitimate. So take a look at it, see what you think. Leave me some response in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that foot. Could it be a juvenile Bigfoot, or is it just something else? Are we looking at a raccoon foot or something? You never know. Let me know, but I don't see any claws there at all. So I love your comments, though. Let me know. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the Trail Cam Terrors. It should wrap it up for it. It's supposed to wrap it up. There it is. All right, folks. This has been another fine presentation of the Paranormal Portal. I hope you agree. I hope you feel like you've been entertained tonight and have enjoyed the journey. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you like scary stories that remind you that you're mortal, then tune into Brent Thomas on the Paranormal Portal. I like it, Buzzachino. You can be my hype guy, my pitch guy, man. That's great. Outstanding. It's great. Great to see all you guys too. Thank you so much to all of you for coming in. Please, if you're not already, get subscribed, become part of what we're doing. I'd love to have you become a part of the Paranormal Portal family. Just hit the red subscribe, ring the bell. And another way you can help is definitely by sharing these streams to your social media or to places you visit on the net where people are enjoying the paranormal. Maybe other people would like it. I don't know, but we're certainly working on raising awareness of the portal. It's tough to get noticed on YouTube because there's a gajillion other shows and people doing it. We feel we have something unique here that nobody else is doing, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if you could help in that journey, we'd be really appreciative. So thank you so much, everybody. Good night to you, Isaac. Thank you. Good night. But Zed is Bim. Could be Zed is Bim. I don't know who's who, but I know that that's not an appropriate response at all. And it doesn't change anything if it is somebody I know or not. It's just not appropriate to leave comments like that, especially disparaging statements. It's like, say what you will, say what your complaints are, but don't cast aspersions and try to belittle someone's character because you're tweaked about something. That's not fair. And it certainly wasn't accurate. But anyway, all right, guys, please don't make accusations unless you can absolutely certainly verify that, because I don't want anybody's feelings getting hurt on any of this. It's never the point of the show to hurt someone's feelings, but it's just my willingness to retaliate and just say, hey, wait, I'm sorry you thought something else was going on here, but I do have a backbone. I'm not afraid to do it. In fact, I like to be happy and peaceful and have wonderful shows and just be light and have fun. But sometimes things need response, and that's unfortunate part of the job too. So, but anyway, love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. Love you guys. Have a great night. And I'll be back on Wednesday with Don. So I hope you guys will join us. It'd be an absolutely wonderful journey. 2 hours on Wednesday as well. So, and if you wanna send me an email, you got some scary stories of your own, please feel free to do that. Or if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, love to hear from you if you got some scary things to discuss. Email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/paranormalportalradio, and follow the Paranormal Portal fans page on Facebook as well. It's just Paranormal Portal fans. So you should be able to find it, but that's what we got. And just remember, guys, I love you guys, and I'll be back on Wednesday. So until then, sweet dreams.
Woo!